All right, here we are. Good morning, PTI Nice Daily Show. Happy Thursday morning. Hope your morning is off to a great start. I'm your host today, Alan, currently serving as the Chief Operating Officer of the Institute of Clinical Excellence and faculty member in our Fitness Athlete Division here on Thursday morning, which means it's Leadership Thursday, which also means that it's Gut Check Thursday. So Gut Check Thursday this week, theoretically a very quick workout. 3 rounds for time, 5 devil's presses, 10 single arm devil's presses, and then 15 burpees. So just a bunch of different ways to trick you all into doing a whole bunch of burpees. So saw some folks hitting it last night already and early this morning. I'm going to get after it today at lunch. So excited to hit that workout. Here on Leadership Thursday, we're going to be talking about the concept of trust but verify this morning. So before we get started, just a couple quick announcements. Some courses coming your way, some live courses. We have Fitness Athlete Live this weekend in San Diego, California with Zach Long. Still a chance to jump into that class out there. Going to be gorgeous weather, of course, in San Diego. And then you can join Lindsay Huey down in Lake Mary, Florida for extremity management this weekend as well. And then next weekend, before we take a little break for Memorial Day, you can join Jeff up in Minneapolis, Minnesota for cervical spine management. Or if you're down towards the eastern seaboard, you can join Zach Morgan in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for cervical spine management. Or if you're in the Midwest, you can join Mitch and Guillermo up at Cream City CrossFit for Fitness Athlete Live up in Milwaukee. And then you can join myself and Mitch online for Clinical Management Fitness Athlete Essential Foundations. That course kicks off June 7th. We have reduced the frequency of that course. We used to run that course back to back to back with no breaks, 6, 7, 8 times a year. But we are reducing that to 4 times a year. So that's going to be offered less frequently. So if you've been looking to jump into that one, make sure you jump into the next cohort on June 7th. So let's get into the topic today here on Leadership Thursday. Trust but verify. If you're a little bit older, if you were alive during the 80s and 90s, the Reagan administration, you know this is a term that was coined regarding kind of the nuclear disarmament of the Soviet Union, of trust but verify, trust that both sides are reducing their nuclear arsenal, but also having teams from each other's government coming in to verify that it's actually happening. So if you were alive in the 80s and 90s, you know this coin and this concept probably very well. It was a big buzz phrase in the news, but that has kind of morphed into a management concept, a leadership concept, especially in the day and age, the past 10 years, and definitely in the past year with COVID-19, of how to manage a team, sometimes completely remotely, how to be sure folks working underneath of you. This is relevant working remotely, but also relevant working in a physical therapy clinic. Oftentimes, as clinicians, we can be working near each other, but it can often feel like we're working on our own. And so, especially as you start to move up into a leadership role within the clinic, maybe a clinic manager or director, or maybe you are the owner, of how to trust that folks underneath of you that you have delegated work to, whether that's remote work, whether that's patient care, other tasks within the clinic or the organization. How can we trust that they're getting the work done without micromanaging them? Because trust me, at work, the thing that people hate the most, aside from maybe being overworked and underpaid, is being micromanaged. Humans really, really hate that. I come from a background of about a decade in the military, where micromanagement was the name of the game, and it really made me hate serving in the military more than anything else. More than the deployments, more than the unfavorable weather, more than the uniforms, it was the continual all-day micromanagement that finally caused me to throw in the towel. The idea and the obsession of I have to know at any given time what somebody is doing, and that they are not wasting any time, and that they are not somehow getting away with not working and not working every second of their day, Versus the other end of that continuum, the other end away from micromanagement, is trusting people to get the work done, but also recognizing the methods by which they do it, the time that they dedicate is not as important as the fact that they get their job tasks done, that they are accomplishing what you have tasked them to accomplish. And then if we go away from micromanagement, we realize it doesn't really matter how it gets done or how much time it takes to get done as long as it gets done. And certainly we've been seeing that over the past year with most folks working from home of, hey, you know what? It turns out I don't have to be sitting here rooted in place for 8 hours to get all the things done that I need to get done with my job. And maybe even not having somebody over my shoulder, not having as many meetings, actually lets me be more productive. So coming back to that first idea of micromanagement, why do we not like this? Well, it's usually delivered in a passive-aggressive manner. Certainly, I think we can all relate to that manager or that director who makes those comments like, well, that's not how I would do it, or that's not how we usually do things around here, which is a passive-aggressive way to say, you're not doing it the way I want it to be done, and I'm going to sit here and watch you and make sure you do it the way that I expect it to be done. And what does that translate to for us, for the folks actually getting the job task done, is it really reduces our sense of autonomy. We feel like we're not in control of what we're doing. We feel like we're not trusted. We're not doing it to the standard. It also can lead to confusion. Oftentimes we hear stuff like, that's not how I would do it. And we think, geez, would you just tell me how you want me to do it then? Because I thought I had a good grasp on what I was doing here, but apparently that's not the case. So just tell me how you want it done. And so micromanagement, more than anything, can lead to that lack of autonomy, which really reduces overall morale and job satisfaction. And given enough micromanagement, people are going to start to find their way to Indeed.com and see what else is out there. The other end of the spectrum from micromanagement is no management. No one really seems to be in charge. No one is really the boss here. We've probably all maybe had somebody in charge of us like that who was so obsessed with not wanting to appear like a normal boss that there really were no standards. There were no expectations. There were no checks on work. And what does that translate into? Well, that usually translates into reduced productivity, reduced quality of work, of whatever we're doing. And again, the same problem as micromanagement, it leads to confusion. It leads to too much open-endedness. Humans don't like to be micromanaged, but they need some buoys. They need to know, what are my right and left limits when I'm out at the range? And when there's no buoys, humans can get off the rail quite quickly. We do thrive when we have deadlines, maybe not a deadline every hour or a deadline every day or even every week, but when we have deadlines and goals to stair-step our way towards whatever we're working on, accomplishing a project or opening a new clinic or creating a new athletic performance program, whatever we're doing in the clinic or otherwise, we really do need deadlines and goals, and we need somebody to kind of be accountable to. Humans really thrive with accountability. We see that across not only the workspace, but fitness and therapy, that folks having a little bit of accountability, somebody to check in with and make sure they're making progress towards whatever that goal may be, is really what lets a human being thrive. So we need to find that happy medium between micromanagement at one end and I don't want to be the boss, there's no boss here, I'm not the boss at the other end, where the result is the same of lower productivity, lower job satisfaction, and kind of just general confusion about the expectation of what's supposed to happen in the workplace. And we find that middle ground with the concept of trust but verify, of we're not going to watch over people's shoulder every second of every day, but we are going to double check the work that they do. And that, again, that could be every day, right? That could be the clinic director checking to see how many notes were done, how many notes are not done at the end of the day, or maybe there's a deadline to have all your notes done by maybe Friday or Sunday, and that person checking to make sure that goal was accomplished. So not watching that person every single day in the clinic to say, hey, did you just do that patient's note that just left? Did you do that patient's note? Did you do that patient's note? Not micromanaging patient by patient, day by day, but having that navigational buoy. And when we get to Friday, when we get to Sunday, checking those notes and seeing, did that person get the job done or not? So trust but verify. Not looking over the shoulder, but double checking the work. Double checking work is so important. It's such a place for constructive feedback and growth, whether we're talking about clinical care or working remotely. This certainly applies to a lot of our patients who are doing remote work at home due to the office being closed. So having that opportunity to say, okay, you got the job done, but I think this could have been a little bit better, and here's how I think. We really thrive as therapists with that feedback, right? We crave that feedback. We almost would like somebody in the room on an evaluation to give us feedback. That's the whole idea behind the mentorship component of the live mentor hours when you pursue a fellowship, right? You want that person who is theoretically much more of a clinical expert than you to look and watch and give you constructive feedback with your patient care. That's usually why you're paying that mentor to come to your clinic to do it. So again, humans really thrive having benchmarks and having the opportunity to receive constructive feedback and growth, but not micromanaging that person, not stopping that person in the middle of the evaluation and saying, stop. That's not how you do it, right? That's not helpful to that person. Again, that's too much on the micromanagement continuum. We need to shift towards that middle of watching that person, but waiting towards the end and then giving them the feedback. So trust but verify is a really important concept, especially as you start to need to delegate more and more work to folks. When you get busier, you can't do it all yourself if you're in a leadership role. And I think we all have that internal issue. I know I certainly struggle with it, of delegating work, of, okay, these are the systems I've created. This is the work that I get done every day, every week, every month. These are my tasks. I get them done, and I think I get them done well, but that's because I do them, right? And when you start to hand that stuff away to other folks and delegate, we really need to be careful that we don't micromanage that person or not give them enough structure, because both can result in that person not being successful. We need to find that middle ground with trust but verify, of giving people tasks, not checking in on them on a minute basis, an hour basis. So many of my patients, I'm sure you all have heard this storyline too, are working from home, and they're required to be logged into Zoom or Skype or something the entire time they're at work. They're expected to have their camera on the whole time, right? That's too much on the micromanagement side versus saying, these are your job tasks. I don't need you to log into Zoom, but if you need to call me or meet with me, you certainly can. And then double checking that person's work. I think of over the past couple months, we have brought Rachel Selena on board to ICE to help out with some of the logistical stuff in the back end. Very task-oriented person, telling her what we need done and when and how to do it, and then just letting her roll, right? Jeff Moore says it best, put the right person in the driver's seat and then get out of their way, right? When we're hiring, ideally we've done a lot of the work on the front end of making sure that's the right person for the job, and that if you've gotten to the point where you're going to hire somebody, you should be very trusting that they're going to perform high-quality work, they're going to get the tasks done that you delegate to them, and that you shouldn't feel the need to micromanage them. And that if you've done the work on the front end, we don't need to micromanage them, and we can let them do their work and then verify it after, which is something I do with Rachel, checking in on her, checking her work every now and again, what's going well, what's not, and again, giving her that structure, but not making her sit on Zoom with me with her camera on whenever she is working for ICE. That would not be a productive use of her time, right? That's too much micromanagement. So getting comfortable with the concept of trust but verify. Adopting that for ourselves too. I think we get into a groove of doing our daily tasks for home and for work, and we just get so used to doing the same thing that it's important that we trust and verify ourselves as well, of making sure we're still double checking our work, even if you've done it for the millionth time and you think, this is like breathing air for me. I don't need any verification here. I still take the time every weekend when I send out those course emails to you all, making sure all the links work, they're all correct, making sure all the names are spelled correctly on their certificates, making sure everybody's email address is correct. Trust that I know what I'm doing, but also verify. There's nothing wrong with double checking. And again, that can be a point where we can receive constructive feedback or a growth opportunity of maybe I am doing something a little bit less efficient than I thought I was, and a way to improve. So leadership concept of trust but verify, especially delegating work, bringing on new folks into the clinic, having folks start to take over your caseload or something like that, is a very, very important concept to embrace. Getting away from micromanagement. Nobody likes that, but also nobody likes not having a boss. People do need some structure, they do need some guidelines, and they do want your feedback. Even if maybe initially when you first give it, they're not as receptive to it, they do want that feedback. They do want to perform and do a good job. And so people do need that feedback. They need that room for growth, that constructive feedback. So don't ignore that either. That's something at ICE for the first couple of years that we did not do. We did not meet with faculty on a regular basis. We just assumed, hey, they're going out there, they're teaching courses, the reviews are great, everything must be going well. And then when we started to meet with faculty on a semi-annual basis, we learned they were craving our feedback from myself and Jeff, but also there were just things that they were confused about for a long time and just had dealt with because we were not meeting on a regular basis and kind of giving them those right and left limits. So recognize a little bit of fine-tuning is necessary as well, as long as it doesn't trend towards micromanagement. So the concept of trust but verify. Happy to hear any thoughts you all have about this, how you're implementing it maybe in the clinic with clinicians working underneath you, or maybe working remotely with a team, doing stuff outside of therapy. Would love to hear how you're all using this concept. I hope you all have a fantastic Thursday. Enjoy Gut Check Thursday. If you're going to be in San Diego or down in Lake Mary, have a great weekend with Zach or Lindsay. And then we hope to see you in Clinical Management of the Fitness Athlete Essential Foundations on June 7th. Have a great Thursday. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.